Hi everyone, I'm Jess and it's a very happy new year to you all from me, and I'm going to take you through some ideas I have on how to set up your Goodreads challenge of how many books you want to read in 2018. There are lots of things to consider when you're setting up your Goodreads challenge for the year, and some of the big things to think about is the time that you have to read. For example, if you are a full-time worker, a part-time worker, you're at school, college, university. So my contract is 37.5 hours per week, which often gets run over quite a lot, and then I am based around the area quite a bit. My usual travel to work is about 20 minutes of driving time, but I could end up going 2 hours away quite a lot of the week. And sometimes that means staying away from home, so I take a couple of books with me, but it means that I'm driving quite a lot as well, and then I'm not able to read for kind of fluctuating amounts during the weeks and over the month and the year. But for some of you, that may be a very more fixed amount of time at work, school or college, and therefore you definitely know when you have the time to read and what time you don't have. So that brings me on to my next point. When you are going to and from work, school or college, you take up another amount of time that you are not going to be reading. So you might be walking, you might be travelling by car, you might be taking public transport. And so you need to consider how you read. For me, it is mainly physical books, so paperbacks and hardbacks, and obviously I can't do that whilst I am driving. If I'm taking the train, which is very much less often, I can take a book, but I don't like to have it beaten up in my bag. So if you read by Kindle, it's a really good way of doing it if you commute. However, if you're driving, it's best to have audiobooks. Audiobooks are quite expensive. It's one of the more expensive ways of reading books, and I've only just begun. I literally started up my Audible membership about a week ago because I know that I've got a couple of long journeys in and ahead of me over the next couple of months. So I thought it would be worthwhile just getting 1 month with one book just to see how it goes, see if I like it, and then I'll continue over the year if it turns out that it works well for me. Kindle books are great if you have limited space on your shelves. It's also easy to carry. You can have it on your phone if you're on the train. Physical books are just a bit more of a pain to carry around. The ability to read when and wherever you are is going to be really, really helpful to help you boost a couple of more books into your reading challenge over the year. Another thing to consider is the length of books you typically read. Now for me, that's probably averaging around 3 to 400 pages. And I see a lot of people that have got targets and have met them of 100 books this year in a couple of the Facebook feeds and stuff that I'm on. And I just don't understand how people find the time to do it. I don't know whether they are likely reading books that average around 200 pages. I know people do prefer smaller books. I like chunky books with lots more kind of development in them and characters and a lot more plot. Like I like my Game of Thrones and my Throne of Glass. I like the big chunky books. But you might be reading textbooks, you might be reading comic books, because some of those do go in as well. So there's a multitude of lengths that you might be reading throughout the time, and that's going to help you kind of gauge how much you will read over the year, because if you're reading a 600-page book, that's likely to take me a week or week and a half to read. If I read an average about 100 pages a day, which is not true, I probably read 50 to 75 pages a day, and then on the weekends it will go more because I'm got more time to do it. So some of the rules I see people keeping to in setting up their Goodreads challenges is to keep to round numbers of kind of 10s and 5s. Lots of people will do 10, 20, 30 up to sort of around 80 books they'll be keeping to 10. Sometimes people are a bit more specific and will go 15, 25 just to get in between. I think 10 is a big number for some people to sort of go in between in the amount of books. So 5 isn't like an area to hit in between and make it seem like a slightly smaller number but bigger than what they were thinking of. Some people like to do the kind of 100 milestones. They do the quarter of 100, they'll do 25, or half they'll do 50, 3/4 they'll do 75, and some people go all the way and do 100 books, and I just could never see myself reading 100 books. I would have to have so much time and so much money. I mean, I'd have to be reading, I don't know, I read quite a few this year, and if I add audiobooks in, then maybe I will do a couple more, but I just can't see myself doing 100 books. That's so many, and the the chunkiness of books I read, I just couldn't see myself doing it. But congratulations to all those people who do. Some people are comfortable with setting themselves a target of 12, which is 1 book a month. Some people are comfortable with setting themselves 1 book a week, which is 52. And that's kind of the odd numbers that I see creeping up quite a bit. It always comes in the tens or the quarters of 100 or the weeks or months. Some random ideas I had on how to set your Goodreads challenge could be to do with your age. For example, just how old you are, or even how old you'll be turning in the year could be the amount of books that you should target yourself to reading. For me, that would be 19 or 20, and that is just not good enough for me. I need to do something much higher. You could go and count on your books the amount of shelves that you have not read yet and have that as your to be read. However, for me that would be around 200 or 300. Again, not really targetable. You could use a random number generator online and just put a fairly large number, probably the maximum you would ever be able to read, at the top, so that it goes in between those numbers of 1 and your maximum. If you have before set up a Goodreads challenge, what I did one year was just to increase that number by 10, which is my lovely round number. I just wanted to go up a little bit and improve on what I'd done the last year. In 2015, apparently, I set myself a target of 60 books, and I'm fairly sure that was a target that I must have changed during the year. Because I met it and I got about 62, so that was fairly tight for me. In 2016 I set myself with 52 books. I had quite a lot of exams going on that year, so I decided to maybe take it back a bit and do that 1 week per average was going to be okay. I met that and went over it, so I upped it by 10 for 2017. I did 62 books. I actually read 82 books, and lots of those included graphic novels, which are obviously shorter, but they are much more expensive, so I think they qualify. But what I am doing for my 2018 book challenge is just to set myself the amount of books that I read last year. So nothing to do with the target I set myself. I read 82 books in 2017. I'm setting myself to read 82 books again and hopefully go over it in 2018. This may not work for other people. You may find that you read way more books than you usually do or can afford for the next year, or you read absolutely no books just because circumstance dictated that you couldn't read or didn't have the time or weren't in the mood to read. I had quite a few reading slumps over the year, so I still read quite a few, which was a bit of a shock to me. So hopefully I should do better next year. I hope that's given some of you an idea of how you should go about setting your Goodreads challenge. It could be something as silly as the amount of mince pies that you ate over Christmas period this year, the amount of socks that you got, the amount of magnets on your fridge, anything. Just set yourself a target and do your best to meet it. There are so many people that I know who have not read a book since the GCSE exams at the end of school, and even that, they just watched the movie and pretended that they'd read the book as they did it in class. Your passion for books is what matters. It doesn't really matter if you meet your target or if you go well over it. I am not someone who will ever go about changing my target, because I think the target is what I've set at the beginning of the year, and if I go past it, fantastic, but I don't want to set myself another one. I'll wait until the next year. So I wish you all the best of luck for setting up your challenge and starting it and meeting it, hopefully by the end of the year, and we'll see how we've all done in 2019. That's not long away already. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.